Good morning and welcome back to another episode of building a minifigure scale Hyrule Castle out of Lego. If you're new here, this is the series where we are, well, designing and then hopefully one day building this castle. And today I'm here to show you the newest update. And we're going to do things a little bit differently this year because I have a big goal to reach with this project by the end of 2024, and that is the entire ground floor finished, which, as you can see by what you're looking at on your screen, is a lot. And is about 3/4 of the castle. I haven't done very much, and that's why we're trying to do this goal here, so that I can move this project along. However, it's not all bad news. Over the second half of last year, I spent a lot of time doing layer 1 building, because for those of you who don't know, we're building this in little modules so that you can access all the interior rooms. So when I say this is a figure version of the castle, I really do mean it, and it's getting pretty big. So today, actually, we're going to take a look at so many modules that I'm not going to name, and I'm just going to show you the finished project this time, because we, as the title suggested, have done the whole West Passage, and I want to show it to you. So let's start off with something more familiar. Here you can see sort of a top-down view of what we're going to be looking at today, and this is of course the lockup. You enter the lockup from the outside nearby the docks, and then as you progress through the corridor, you reach suddenly a corner. And at this corner, of course, this is where you could see through this chest to the other side of the bars, or of course to the Hinox room where you would fight a Staunox for the Hylian shield. I've got videos on all of this stuff. However, turning the corner will lead us to the water pump room, infamous on this channel for being an incredibly irritating build that has stolen much of my time. But also there's this T-junction that previously we left unexposed, and you can see here that there's a couple of torches on the wall and that it suddenly ends. And that's because this section is actually blocked off in-game in both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and we don't know what's through here, so I'm going to be leaving it for a little bit later, and we're actually going to be filling in this passageway on our own. Maybe it will be a series of corridors which leads to another room. Maybe this is the way down to the secret basement where of course the corpse of Ganondorf is. Maybe this is that staircase where they went. Or perhaps it will just end in a terminal room that will be designed by me or you guys, something that's missing from the castle in-game. Regardless, what we're here for is the West Passage, which is accessed through a bomb wall off to the side here. Obviously, given that this is the version of the castle before in Age of Calamity, the wall has not been broken through yet. However, there is a little tiny crack in the wall that suggests that maybe there's some mining operations going on the other side, which of course, if we smash our way through to, you can see from a top-down perspective. You've got a crate with some little bits and some boxes, but this space opens out into the West Passage's main room, which involves a Korok puzzle as well as a Guardian excavation site. This one hopefully is familiar to you guys, but just down this little slope with our familiar rockwork techniques, you can see some blue tiles for the hot spring pond, as well as 3 representations of those miniature statues which you would put boiled eggs in front of in their little pools in order to get a Korok seed. And that's all been replicated here using curved slopes to represent the little puddles, half a lever on a brick to represent the little statues, and there's a lot of plate work using wedge plates to create a sort of layered terrain. It's very, very subtle technique compared to some of the stuff we usually do with slopes or actual full plate thicknesses, but it sort of gives you the impression that it slopes down towards this water a little bit very shallowly, and it also helps to build up the level of dirt around the other side, because in the other side of this room is where you would get your eggs from, the environmental storytelling for this puzzle, and it's a pile of partially excavated guardian heads. The soil texture here changes to dark tan to represent more dug up remnants, and these ones, because they're not weathered and they've been dug up fresh, are actually in black compared to the one we had on the outside of the castle, which was in dark bluish grey. This also makes it a bigger contrast between the almost entirely dark bluish grey surroundings. Of course, in this room there are a couple of brown pillars to help support it, and you can see even the bird egg nest in behind these statues. I really love having these guys here, as 100 years before the Calamity, this is a detail that wouldn't have changed. Over in the final corner of the room is a very dark sort of corridor. It's almost kind of hard to see, but this leads through to the remainder of the excavation pathways. One key thing about the West and then East Passage is that both of them feature a section of minecart track. On the West Passage, this actually goes outside as well, as you'll see in a minute. But one of the key features I wanted to implement here was that instead of having completely accurate minecart track, I wanted to use Lego's roller coaster track system, meaning that this would actually be possible to integrate into and actually move along in it if it was ever displayed, which of course is the end goal, and a worthy compromise compared to perfect accuracy using black flex rod, which is not something I could really show you guys here with Studio. It could be a change that's made in real life. Anyway, how do you board this roller coaster in a sense? Well, through this winding passageway, clearly shown from the top-down perspective between these two rooms, there's then a little bit of a boarding station, which is up a little small bit of rockwork, and then you've got the minecart here, which is again obviously based around the minecart carts from the game, but also it has to be built around the minecart track pieces that actually work with Lego sets. So the most interesting technique here, besides all the sloping and stuff just to get the rough shapes, is actually the use of a castle helmet in black, which recreates that rounded kind of place where you would place the bombs to make the cart move in game, which is a really neat detail that I'm really pleased that I managed to squeeze in here. Obviously this then goes winding through the corners and then comes outside, as you can see here. I really love how this looks, and it will look even better once there is greenery and layers on top of it to make it feel more like a small detail. And I've tested it, the track does, or is supposedly able to go all the way around. This is also a big section for overhang, because this is where it sort of comes out over the top. So from a top-down perspective, you actually can't see any of this track because it's all covered by terrain above it, which you can see more so here. And then really awkwardly at like the corner of 4-plate intersection, this train track goes straight back into the mountain and goes around the corner in a very narrow track format, as is seen in game. There are a couple of keys here, but no other details, which brings us to an end point where there'd be some more boxes. There's some shoes here in game, but again, not relevant for this build. So you've got some boxes, and then there's actually a diamond deposit here, or a rare ore deposit. I've just switched out for a crystal piece because I felt that in a time where it's being actively mined, why not would you just have the shiny crystals here? Anyway, this then goes outside to another one of our wooden entrances. I can't wait to get to build more of the actual portions of castle. And this is actually very close to the front gatehouse, as you can see. I'm very excited to be able to build the front gatehouse, and that sort of almost gets us to halfway done. We'll come back to that in a minute though. This of course means that I've had to do a lot of external rock work. While I briefly touched on it when I showed you the outside section, all of this west passage area has been encased on the full sides, and well, that means that we've got a complete rock work all the way around these like new plates, which is about 4 to 6, and I've even started doing some of our capping plates. So as I mentioned, this system is built in cubes. This is all layer 0, or the ground floor. Any room on the ground floor that needs to be accessed, or any rock appendages that sort of would cover up areas that are at a lower height, such as these small green platforms here, which are covering up part of the roller coaster track, which needs to be accessed for play, are called sublevels, and they have to be built in order to get everything up to the same height. And I'm almost there. I can't fully finish some of these external plates because I need to keep going with the castle wall segments that are actually on top of this. That's why I've been doing layer 1 plates and delaying my ground floor progress, is so that I know the right heights and the right places where they're all going to connect. And it's all about guidelines and so on. So not everything can be perfectly finished, but it's close enough to now where I've finished my first pass, as I would say, or literally cannot finish the plates until I come back over the top, which is something that I do want to work on. Which brings us, of course, to this project and this huge scale, because I have 12 months now to do what I've spent the last nearly 4 years doing for the left-hand side, but on the right-hand side. Now, don't get me wrong, I've had some massive gaps in there. We're talking, yeah, I started the docks in, 2018, 2019, but I had massive gaps in between. I restarted twice, and all of the detail work and all this had to be learned, and now things are certainly much more streamlined, even if I'm still putting it all by hand. I will say that up until the point I've shown you, I've done a little bit more. I've done a couple more floor 1 plates, which I said I wasn't going to do because my goal is to finish ground floor. I'm wasting my own time by doing plates above that, but they were really exciting ones, so I wanted to tinker around with them. But I'm going to try and contain myself, and I'm now going to stop, and I'm going to go back to the back right side, because as you can see on our map here, I've got the back right side to do, which I'll do in one big lump, and then I've got the front right side to do, and then that will link it all together. But the next video you see for the castle will be all that stuff that I've done in the meantime on this side, on floor 1, and then hopefully by the end of the year I will be able to say I have a 360 model compared to this weird half one that I have right now. There's actually a lot going on in this one, which is why I thought it was worth to film this for you guys. And of course, if you're interested in the back left corner, check out the last episode, because I sort of did a catch up on all of the stuff we'd done so far, although that was in a different style start to this, so maybe just stick around to see what's coming next. But hope you're excited to see this. When I put a poll out, it was just something you guys wanted to see this year, so I hope it's living up to expectations, as this was a huge update that previously would have been 4 or 5, so they're going to be coming less frequently because I cannot maintain this level of progress. But I'm excited to reach my goal this year. It is my second priority New Year's resolution in my entire life this year. That says something about my life that I don't want to touch on, but it's going to be good. It's going to be awesome. I'm really, really excited on this project at the moment. Fingers crossed that actually turns into progress this time instead of me just talking about it. But you got to admit that it's looking pretty good, at least with the green. Can't wait to add more details. Let me know if anything needs changing in the West Passage, and in the meantime, I will see you next week. Bye bye.